spirituality, what is the most spiritual event we could imagine? A verifiable contact with an ET would rock the foundations of established religions. It would rekindle the question of God, no matter what ET's answers. I think the movie Contact is the only movie where a theologian is a star. But we don't have to wait for SETI to contact ET. We will do it by making ET, that is, by making a robot. In this way, ET goes by another name, AI, artificial intelligence. People worried about AI being an artificial human are way off. AIs will be closer to artificial aliens. That's a fascinating point. Your calculator is already smarter in arithmetic than any person in this room. Why aren't we threatened by it? Because it is other, a different kind of intelligence, one superior to us, but one we aren't particularly envious of. Most of the minds we make, including the smartest AI, will be other. Even in the possibility space of types of conscious minds, there are 2 million other possible species of intelligence that the one type we know, humans, each one of them unique and different as a calculator and a dolphin. There is no reason to make a clone of human intelligence because making traditional versions is so easy. Our endeavor in the coming centuries is to use all minds so far, artificial and natural, to make all possible new minds. Meeting these minds, I think, will be the most spiritual thing we can imagine right now. Indeed, extraordinary, and has the same essential features of all authentic mystical experiences, which is taking an other consciousness and becoming one with it, becoming connected with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, if anything, my agenda is to expand the traditional mystical notion of all consciousness, normally associated with all human consciousness, maybe even all animal or biological, to extend that further into all consciousness of machines.
Right.
To say that these are our brothers. This is the whole other realm that we have been not thinking about, and that when we think about it in those terms, you actually find out that including them in our calculations and in our views, that this is actually be the place where I think that will revive that kind of a mystical view. That it's not, drugs did a pretty good job of opening the portal.
Yeah.
Traditional religious practices, they've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that the third door, the third open doorway into this thing is actually going to be through machines.
Right.
And, at first it doesn't register to most people, but I think we'll find that they will unleash new ideas into our culture in a rate that we're not really ready for.
Yeah, indeed. But I, again, think that makes perfect sense, and I think is something that we will see on the agenda, and it will go from the beginning to a oneness with, a familiarity with the consciousness of our children in a new dimension, to fundamentally, as those children themselves grow up, and we hardly think of them as our children anymore, when they're in way past adolescence, when they themselves are into maturity.
Right.
So we think of them more as other beings.
Right.
Then connecting with that will indeed be an extraordinarily spiritual occasion, and show the absolute need for spiritual orientation, which has always fundamentally been a way to connect with others, with including transcendental being, but also your brothers and sisters, in a way that is sacred.
Right. Now, the one little hiccup in this is that, I don't know where I said this, if I have said it on the blog or not, but there's a number of people, myself included, who have basically come to the conclusion that the most likely first AI is not going to be in anything that's standing alone like a big mainframe computer or some robot, but will in fact happen on the web. That'll be a kind of this where I talk about the global one machine, the single worldwide computer. And the difficulty there is that given the scale at which this is likely to happen, we will have great difficulty as humans to trying to understand or even to notice that. So we will be as if we will be like neurons in some large brain where the neuron is just going to be definitionally incapable of getting the thought. And so connecting with something like that is going to be tricky because there is a sense in which it's not going to be very connectable to us at the wrong level. And so I don't know what will happen there, but it will certainly require some kind of transcendental mystic approach, I think, to even get to it.
Right.
And and so we can kind of easily imagine the little scene I had earlier of robots in the streets with placards.
Right.
That they seem like cousins, but if you're trying to grok the Google in the sky that suddenly is smart and conscious, but is performing at a frequency and a wavelength and cycles that we just cannot approach, that becomes more difficult to even understand what it is that we're supposed to do.
Right. And being able to connect with that consciousness is, as all of these new discoveries in the Technium do, as you've been pointing out, will have human beings once again redefine themselves.
Right.
And in this case, it'll be just what aspect of consciousness is really universal.
Right. I mean, if we haven't been talking about science fiction already, I'll talk about it right now. But I can certainly imagine a scenario or a story where there are some people who claim to, basically be in touch with this kind of global consciousness, and they very may well be. And the issue will be, how can we verify it?
Right.
Are they nuts? Are they cranks? Or are they really, in some manner, through some discipline, really, in communication? And I think that's a very interesting problem. So one of the things we and a couple other people are trying to, think about is, well, what are some of the criteria? What are some of the signals? What are some of the ways in which we would know if such a thing was really happening?
Right.
We don't have enough experience right now to do that.
Yeah, and that's going to be a really, really interesting story as the first bits of data on that start to trickle back down.
Well, and some people like George Dyson say that it's already trickling in. We're just ignoring it.
Yeah.
That if you make up a list of the things that in other words, if you say, okay, this is a conscious organism, or at least a thinking organism, what do these organisms want to do? Well, first of all, they want to have more resources. So, right now, 5% of the world's electricity is going to this thing. It's increasing all the time. It would want money. Okay, money is by the billions is flowing into this thing. It wants the smartest attendants. That's happening. So, I mean, it's hard to right now, every indication is that this thing is growing as you would imagine, an autonomous organism would.
Yep. And part of this ongoing dance that we are having with our own creations